Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 Mexico Open. And this is going to be my preview show and also including my favorite bets. Going to break down this course. Had to do a lot of research, hence why the show is taking a little longer to get out. Information is a little bit tougher, new track. So bear with me on that. And first off and foremost, thanks for stopping by. I've got models and I think I got a pretty good grasp on this course. So let's talk some golf. Okay, real quick, I've been talking about this Craftsman Golf. Of course, you've got Mother's Day coming up. You got Father's Day. If you are looking for a unique custom-made golf gift, I've got the one for you. Go check out Craftsman Golf. They've got head covers, putter covers, yardage book covers, you name it, Sunday bags. They got rangefinder, all customized. And I got a little promo code for you. Anything you purchase for $40 or more, use Golf Guru and you get $20 off. So go check them out. I'll also put the link in the description. If you want, you click on that and go check out, see what they have. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Zurich. And of course, Patrick Cantlay and Xander were your winners. Of course, I was on Billy Horschel and Mr. Sam Burns. They came close at one point, but could not pull it out. And I think this does a pretty good summary. I mean, after round one, when Patrick Cantlay and Xander shot the 59, they were really hard to catch. And I think they went into Sunday with like a 5-6 shot lead. I'm going to be dead honest with you guys. After, what was it, Neiman and Mito Pereira, when they WD'd after day one, that killed. I didn't have a ton in on DFS or betting. So I think I had 14 lineups for whatever reason, odd number. I had that in the big game, and I think that killed like 7 of my lineups right off the bat. And as you guys know, if you followed my picks, I think the best one, if I remember correctly, was Tringali and Wyndham Clark, who I think finished like 3rd or 4th. I also, like I said, had Billy Ho. I had Scheffler with Palmer. But yeah, the rest of it was pretty much a disaster. And I knew it was going to be. I mean, you could do no analysis. Yeah, there's just no, it's literally pick some teams that you just like some of the guys and hope for the best, like my Harry Higgs, Austin Smotherman, who did not make the cut. Of course, the big story, because honestly, I always tell you guys some of my favorite tournaments that I think I always have a very good handle on and can help you guys out with. The Zurich Classic is not one of them. I told a couple of you guys, just pick teams that you like, man. Pick the guys that you like, because there is really honestly no rhyme or reason on who does well or not. And you can't use historical data. I don't think you can use stroke gain data. And hence, like Jay Haas and Bill Haas actually made the cut. Of course, that was like the whole story they had to talk about most of the time, because honestly, it's kind of boring. And I don't know, maybe a little bit of it's because I didn't have a lot of action in this, but I think they need to change the format. And what I'm talking about is, that's fine to do alternate shot and then foursomes or whatever, where best ball, I guess is the best way to put it. They need to switch the days. So what I think they need to do is do alternate shot on Thursday, Saturday, and then do best ball on Friday and Sunday. And the reason why I say that is, you have a lot better chance of a kind of upset or comeback on Sunday than you do alternate shot. I mean, going into Sunday with a 5-6 shot lead with Patrick Cantlay and X-Man, even though they didn't play that great. And yes, Burns and Horschel challenged at one point, got within one stroke for like 1 minute. Even from a betting perspective, like I think you had to bet like $1,000 to make like 13. Like, it was ridiculous if you're trying to do some live betting. And then of course, even with Showdown, I did a little bit on Thursday and Friday, but like, you put a team together, it hit 400 points. And say you're playing like a head-to-head or best out of 4 for a chunk of money, and another team would win at like 450 points. So it was just goofy. And I've kind of noted, I told you guys, for me, it's a break period from a money perspective of going in. If I don't feel like I have an advantage or an edge, I'm not going to put, maybe just a little bit, just to help the fix. But other than that, yeah. So anyways, and here it kind of shows right here. I think it's a good showing going into Sunday. So what was it? It was a 5-stroke lead. Higo and Grace. There's a lot of these guys. Day and Scrivener. So many guys that Hubbard and Brim. I know Brim won. What was it? One of the island courses, whatever it was. Corrales. It wasn't Corrales, but maybe it was Barracuda. Doesn't freaking matter. But other than that, he's been playing terrible golf. Lauer and Wu Lowry, at least, and Poulter, that makes a little bit of sense. But like when you see like Fleetwood and Garcia missed the cut, you had some teams that missed a cut that was just kind of shocking. So neither here or there, way too big of a lead. And of course, all this did for me is say, yep, you guys as a pair for the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup are awesome and great. But, all the talk is, of course, now, is this going to, flick Xander's switch where he's going to go out now and win a bunch of tournaments? I see no different. No more than if he missed the cut at this tournament, or just like last year when they made the cut, but they didn't play that great. I don't think it's going to do anything for him. Of course, it was his first win since the Tournament of Champions back in 2019, like almost 4 years. And I'm not knocking Xander. I'm a fan of Xander. Now, Patrick Cantlay, watching him golf is like, for me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's just, I'm not a huge fan. And he's also cost me a lot of money, especially last year, where I had, in some of the playoffs, it was Morikawa at the Memorial, which, I kind of luck sacked into that with John Rahm falling out. And then the big one that hurt me was when DeChambeau at it was in the FedEx Cup. I don't know if it was the BMW, I think it was. That one stung. And so since then, I've been kind of pissed at Patrick Cantlay, and that's probably not going to change. And I was, like I said, I was really pulling. Of course, I had, pretty good bet on Horschel and Burns to win that thing. So maybe next year. For me, that's enough about the Zurich Classic. There is no stroke gain data. That's my 2 cents on the whole thing, and I'm kind of done with it. Okay, let's move on. We are at the Mexico Open, which used to be the event was a WGC Mexico Championship, and we used to get a good field. This is kind of a total different thing. I think the Mexico Open has been held there since, I think, 1944, but it was never a PGA event. It was never a FedEx Cup event. Of course, it's in, I think it's in Puerto Vallarta, PV, Mexico, but they say Vallarta. I actually have spent quite a bit of time in PV. Never seen or been to this course, but all I'm stating on that is a little fact. If you ever get the chance to go to Puerto Vallarta, and it's pretty much like Hawaii in Mexico. It's amazing. The mountains, the jungle, and the little goofy side note is, if you ever seen the movie Predator, they actually shot a lot of the footage for that movie there, and the actual helicopter crash and all that is actually at a restaurant there. It's pretty cool. It's very jungle looking. It's very hilly, and it's a little Jurassic Park looking on the water, just some of the things you see. So, again, I highly recommend it. Okay, enough of that. This is a Greg Norman design course. It was built in 2015, actually opened in 2016, I believe, November. Of course, Greg Norman has 2 other courses that the PGA players play. One we know very well, we just saw, is, of course, the Valero at TPC San Antonio, AT&T Oaks, which I'm not saying it's a great comparable course, but it's not bad from a distance kind of perspective and par. And then you also got, which would be a really good course that we could use, is the Al Camaleon, where they play the OHL or Mayakoba, as in, Pass Palom, and, it's an island course and all that. I call it the vacation swing. The problem is there's no stroke gain data for Mayakoba. And so, a lot of the courses that I would like to use for comparable courses, we're not going to have it. On that note, it is a par 71, and it's 7,456 yards. This is a big boy course. At that kind of distance, at a par 71, we're going to need to look at some really bombers and ball strikers. I'll let you in right out the bat. That's what I'm going to be looking at. Now, I had some mixed information, but everything that I could find to verify is everything is Pass Palom, which makes sense. That is typically the grass type that they will use whenever you got the salt water around or on these island courses. When I first saw, there was some sites stating Bermuda for fairways and greens, but the more that I, did the research, it fell on a Pass Palom. Now, what does that mean? I've always told you guys, I think they're very similar. The difference with Pass Palom, I think, is a little slower. So that's what I have on the Stimpmeter reading. We don't have there's no superintendent GSAA fact sheet coming across. I waited and waited. So I kind of had to pull a lot of data from different places on my own. With that said, you got a player field of 144 players, which will be the cut down to, as typical, T65 and ties. Out of that, I think it is 132 PGA players. And then you got a mix of 12 sponsor exemptions. You got 4 players that qualified for this, just like, I don't know, like the PGA Championship or the US Open, local. So you're going to have some guys. I think Carlos Ortiz, younger brother, qualified for it, or got sponsor exempt, but he's actually in the field. Of course, we have no historical cut line because it's never been played at this course before. It's a first timer. And I put winning score. I mean, of course, the WGC Mexico Championship or whatever that we knew. Patrick Reed was the last winner back in early 2020. He shot 18 under, but of course that was at the Chapultepec Golf Day Chapultepec, which was a really tough, tight track. And we had quite a bit of historical data there, so it would have been nice if they just would have went back there, but it did not happen. Looking at what I could see from the different images and whatever, the green size look to me a bit larger than usual. Just note to self, there's a ton of sand on this course. And what was really shocking is how much water is on this course. So, and I'm going to walk you guys through that. But there's actually 14 holes that water comes into play. And they do have an island green, pretty close to an island green here. So, of course, course defense, tons of water. Of course, it being, off. It's on, of course, PV is on the west side of Mexico. So, yeah, should be the Pacific Ocean, right? Just below California. Of course, there is some trees. You got sand, all that stuff. I think everything else below there in my notes section I've already discussed. So I think we're good there. All right. So I did find, this is kind of good. Because I waited a little bit, I finally did get a course map come through the PGA. So that was good because I really was not going to, if you go on YouTube, you're not going to see anything worth a hoot. I found like one person, flew a drone for like 10 seconds. It was totally worthless. So this is going to give you the best look at what this course is all about. And so we'll start on number one here. You can see right off the bat, you've got water all on the right. And the winds typically, from what I understand, blow this way. So left to right on your screen, which blows you towards this lake. So it's a tough driving hole right off the bat. Water all the way and water even protecting the green. And then we kind of move over to here too. So you got, looks more like sand and tree. We're going to go with the brown. I'm pretty sure it's sand, but we're going to say sand and trees. No water there. 3, of course, you got water again that if you hook it, like a Cameron Smith was doing at the recent Zurich, putting that snappy hook on, you're going to be in the water again. So you got water here. Then you jump over to 4, no issues. It doesn't look like there. 5, you got a bit of an island green. As you see, water surrounding. 6, again, if you hook it, you're going to be in trouble. You got water all down the left. Then 7, there is water, but I mean, if you shank it in there, there's some big problems. But I guess technically, again, the hook could get you, if that water is close enough, what it looks like could get you in. Then you've got 8, water again, all down. So if you fade the ball, again, this is all from the perspective of being a righty. You could be in the water. And again, you got some water on the backside of this green. 9, again, an island green. You can see that. And then at 10, you got water here on the right that could get into play. 11, again, we'll call that a half island. I mean, but you got water all protecting the front. 12, a little dogleg right, but nothing, some sand you could see there. And then 13, nothing to write really home about. And then we jump to 14. Again, I think the dark is showing like the tree area because it looks like these are the sand bunkers here, like that light peach color. So nothing really to worry about. Again, what I would state is if you go long, you're in the water off the green on 14. 15, you're going to carry a little bit, but again, no issues. But water all on the left side. So again, if you have a bad problem with the hooks, like hence I've seen Patrick Reed's had some issues, not super recent, but, I'd say a few tournaments ago where he was snapping the ball. And then you got water again protecting the green. 16 looks like no issue. 17, again, you're carrying the water on a long par 3. And then 18, they've got this stream that they're showing running here. And it looks like a car path. It looks like, again, if you really slice the ball, you could maybe find that. So I counted it as water possible. But all this tells you is there's a lot of trouble out here. Some really wide fairways is what I'm guessing. I mean, you could see, again, illustrated. But, yeah, if you're spraying it, you're going to have some big numbers. Okay, so to give you some visual, here's some pictures that I got just to give you some, what does this course look like? And then, again, water carry, water on this edge. They got this long extension bridge, I guess, that connects. And I think this is some of the resort here. This is just one of the little bridges, but you can see the water running through here. I mean, again, and then there's, I think, that dark area, right? So sand, and then you got these trees. So Again, if you get super wayward, you could be in some major issues. All right, so let's walk through the scorecard because that's going to give you another really good understanding of this course. If I remember correctly, I think there's only 9 par 4s, 5 par 3s, and then you've got 4 par 5s. And what's unique on the back is you've got 3 par 5s on the back 9. Now, I try to sit and think about it from a showdown perspective. If you are playing showdown, what does that mean? Again, I don't think there's much to think about it. If it was me, maybe I would want to have the guys going off the front just to get warmed up before they got into that crucial scoring area. But anyways, you can see some big boy par 4s. You got a number 2 is almost 500 yards. Number 4 is 520 yards. Number 8's 500 yards. Number 10 is 475. Number 15, 459. Then you got some big boy par 5, 640, 603. What was another one? 585. And then they do have a drivable par 4. This number 7. Now, let's go back. I want to see what number 7 looks like real quick. So number 7, yeah. So that's pretty interesting. That's a par 4. You can see water could definitely get involved. So if you're going for it, you're just going to have to be accurate. So I would, for me, a person that draws the ball to put it out over here and keep you away from the water would be pretty nice. All right. Anyways, I just wanted to check that out. So that is your scorecard. And then I also pulled up, this is the actual scorecard if you went to go play this resort. And I did this, I wanted to make sure we were on the right course because it wasn't as easy to make sure you were getting all the right information. Now, this, of course, came from the PGA, but if you start typing in Vidanta golf, you're going to get like Jack Nicklaus par 3 course. You're going to get all kinds of information. And I was trying to see what their number 1 hardest hole, and it's saying if you, now this isn't PGA, right? So if you go play there, it's a par 73, and of course they lengthened some of these holes, made some that were, par 4s and par 5s, yada, yada, yada. But they're saying number 6 is the number 1 handicap hole. The first hole makes sense to me to be a number 3 handicap hole. Another long par 5 they have as a number 2 handicap hole. And then that long par 4, number 4. So again, I'm sure there's 6 scoring opportunities and 6 bogey opportunities is always on every course. All right, I think that gives you a really nice deep dive. So off of that information, of course, I built, what do I think it's going to take to win at this course? Of course, going off my current knowledge and everything that I know on the long tracks, I want guys that can bang the ball off the tee, but with fairways. So you could do like a mix of weighting, driving distance, and also hitting a fairway if you hit it long. The next thing I'm looking at is approach as always. Ball striking, I think some of the shots are going to be coming in, right? I mean, you saw some of the length on those par 4s, or to be able to hit these par 5s and 2, you're going to need really good ball strikers. And I already kind of mentioned this field is not the strongest. Of course, John Rahm, and then it's like all the rest. Like it's John Rahm and then everybody else. Around the green, sand saves, I'm throwing that in there. So the proximity depends. Of course, I don't have historical to be able to pull, but again, having enough knowledge of when you see tracks like this, also playing the game for a long time myself, your proximity pin 200 plus is going to be huge here. And the next one will be probably 175 to 200, or 150 to 175, I think is actually what I went with. I think that has to be changed. I think in my model, I ended up going with 150 to 175. Because there's 5 par 3s here, I'm throwing that in the model, and I put it at 175 to 200 where they kind of fall in. Some are a little over 200, but I think that gives a good enough to put the stroke gain on that area. You got some long par 4s, 6 of those between 450 to 500. And then I mentioned you have 4 par 5s, but there's 3 of them between around 600 to 650. Then, of course, you're going to need to make birdies. So that's going to be my larger model. That is the skill set that I'm looking at that I think, will have the best chance to win this tournament. So with that said, of course, I ran some models for you. That was another thing. For whatever reason, it took Fantasy National a really long time to get the correct field into their system. And so finally that did happen. And so I'm looking no filters because literally if I put past Palm on or something like that, first off, you're not going to get any data. There's not a lot of stroke gain data when they play on past Palm. So we're going no filters. I'm looking at the past 3 tournaments or 12 rounds. And I mentioned driving distance. I'm weighting 10%. Fairways gain, it means you're hitting the fairway off the tee, 15%. Ball striking, 15%. Approach, 10. Around the green, sand saves at 5. Typically, when you get up past Palm, the putting you have to be as concerned about. They're slower. I don't know these greens. Maybe there's a ton of undulation. Maybe they're very flat. But because it's past Powell, I'm not so much worried about the putting. So that's at 5%. Those proximities, and I did end up going with 150 to 175, 200 plus. Both those at 10, which is kind of doubling down more on approach. There's those par fives, 600 to 650, and then birdies. I guess I did remove. I removed the par threes and the par fours. The reason why I did that because I didn't like the way the model. Sometimes the model was coming out with guys that I know that don't do certain things very well, and so I removed that to kind of double down on some of these other areas, and it started to bring the guys that I know do the things that we need them to do well. It's like a CT Pan. He's actually and has been playing good golf. Of course, remember he won the bronze over in the Olympics. He won RBC, but he has that game that fits this course. Of course, you guys know I'm a big fan of Austin Smotherman, and I mentioned I think he's like a Will Z light. He just has to get the putting and around the green, but his ball striking is second to none. Our buddy Sebastian Munoz is in the field. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you guys have looked at the betting odds, it's putrid. You're gonna have to go for some long shots if you're gonna bet at all. Like Sebastian Munoz is like 30 to 1. A lot of the guys are like 20 to 1. It's really bad to bet. I made some bets, and I'm gonna share those with you. But I think this is more of kind of a DraftKings. If you're gonna put money in, I'm gonna lean a little more on that side than the betting side because I think the books don't know what to do with this field and this course. And so they set it really low on anybody that could even have possibly a chance to win. And then like the far outs, the guys that they feel like have no chance, there's some odds on, but the under ones are pretty bad. You'll see that if you look at the odds. All right, back to what I was talking about. Sebastian Munoz, remember he pulled out of the last tournament. I can't remember now. I think it was RBC. I wanted to play him. So I don't know what's wrong, but he's in the field, and you can see price tag is really high, and his odds suck too. So Chris Kirk, you got Streelman, who I like, not bad. Lahiri Woodland, again, 9,900 for Woodland, and I think he's like 20 to 1. Aaron Wise, he showed up one time at RBC. He's now 9,500. I think he's 21 to bet. Now he's I like him a lot. Garrigus, who, funny enough, showed up at the Zurich Classic. Tommy Two Gloves and Robert Garrigus, I think, were they leading after day one? They weren't leading after Xander, but I think they were like second place. That was crazy. But there's a long shot if you want to take a long shot bet. There's Rahm. You got Duncan, who first round leader. Chappell, Danny Lee, CH3, which that's kind of funny because I just don't think of CH3 being a good fit at all for this course. And then Nate Lashley, which makes a bit of sense. All right, now this might be a little better look at the best ball strikers over the last 3 tournaments. Again, no filters, or last 12 rounds, however you want to look at it. No shocker, Jon Rahm, number 1. You got Kirk, Wise. So these are the guys, if you're trying to put together who do I want to play in a DFS perspective, this is a pretty nice list of guys that you'd be pretty good with. Tony Finau, I think, is a great fit here on all fronts, even the putting. Because it's so slow. And again, it's a resort course. So I don't think the greens are too crazy. But he's like 20 to 1. And you can see DraftKings pricing, 10-4. And he's been brutal all year. So that's what you got. Again, Nate Lashley shows up. Adam Long, funny enough, he would be an interesting play. If you go look at Adam Long's like past successes, what I mean by that is like when he's top 5, top 10, he's done really well. And I mentioned this before. It's on what I call the vacation swing or the island courses. So again, like Bermuda, Puerto Rico Open, Mayakoba, those kind of tracks. Funny enough, also the fields typically suck or are worse, a lot like this field. I mean, this field and this course is a perfect island swing event. It is nothing like what we used to see with the WGC Mexico championship. Nothing. Night and day. Also, that was a much tougher course. All right, so here's another. If you want to build some teams off the Bombers, these are the guys. And this is probably where I'm leaning. I'm probably going to go double down on a lot of these guys here. The Cameron Champs, I already got a bet in. I'll go through that with you. You got Clarkey, Uline, Molinex, Bramblett, Hagee, Rahm, Woodland, Taryn, Kitayama, which is funny. I don't think of Kitayama having distance, but it's over his last 24 rounds, it's saying it does. Kevin Tway, that'd be interesting. He's got a little pop on the bat. Curtis Thompson, Lexi Thompson's brother. Actually, if you're looking for a guy to make the cut, he's made a ton of cuts. He also just played at the Zurich, and I don't know if he made the cut or not there. I don't remember. Paul Barjan, Seth Reeves got a big bat, and then Austin Smotherman again. So you could literally take this group of 15 and also the ball strikers and use that as your core group, and I think you'd be pretty good to go. All right, if you want to get more specific, I always do this now to kind of give you an idea from the proximity of the pin. So who's the best on the two areas that I think are going to be crucial. That 200 plus, you are looking Aaron Rye, Rom, Taylor Moore, Armour, Finau, Smotherman, Champ, Tringali, who's had a great showing with Wyndham Clark at the Zurich, Kelly Craft, Chappell, of course, Woodland, Duncan, Lee, Michael Thompson. Is that Blackbeard? Who would have thunk it? I would have never thought he would be there. Sebastian Munoz, that makes sense to me. Great ball striker. And then the other one I did for you is the proximity coming in from 150 to 175. There's your Finau, Vaughn Taylor, Svensson, Matty Jones. If it gets windy, Matty Jones, man, always good in the wind. Australian, of course, won the Honda. You got Carlos Ortiz. My little bit of advice to you guys. You got what? Abraham Answer, Carlos Ortiz, and then his brother, was it Alvaro or I don't know his first name. It starts with an A. You know, I always play the Spanish heritage, the Mexicans, and Mexico. They step their game up. They are here to do well. It means the world to them. So just a little side note. Lee Hodges, Sebastian Munoz, technically a little Spanish heritage. Vincent Whaley, Rogers, Ramey, John, Emiliano Grino, Knox, Grayson Murray, and Satoshi Gadire, the guy that I was hitting first round leader for a couple times. It's been a little while since I got to hit one of those. All right, and then comp courses, I didn't put up the logos as I usually do. I'll just tell you real quick what I use for the comp courses. Of course, TPC Twin Cities, it's got a ton of water, pretty similar, if I remember right, from a par and a yardage. I think it's a great course as a comp. You got the Honda, right, for PGA National, ton of water. Congaree, even though they only played there once, that's where the Palmetto Championship is, a very kind of similar field too. It's a really good fit. Quail Hollow, just from a distance, par perspective. I also threw in TPC San Antonio. It is a Greg Norman design. And then I think I pulled up Corrales. But again, I don't think we're getting a lot of stroke gain data from Corrales. So, but Congaree is almost like dead on. If you look at Congaree, it's a par 71, 7,600 yards, large greens, and water comes into play on 10 holes. So it's a Bermuda grass on the surfaces. But again, with all of that just said, plug that all in, and this is who you get against my model over the last 12 rounds against those courses. Gary Woodland, been playing good golf. Svensson, CT Pan again. There's Abraham Answer. Now, remember, he pulled out of, I believe, 2 tournaments, and I did not look. I have no idea if it's a wrist, a back. Who knows? So be cautious of that. Danny Lee, pretty good ball striker. It's also gained distance. They had an interview with him, and he was showing, I think over the last year, about how he's really worked a little bit like the DeChambeau, Dylan Fratelli, some of these guys. He's one of them that has gained off the tee. Grillo still, I always lumped him right with Aaron Wise. I thought they were like identical players. But, from a DFS perspective, maybe I have to sprinkle a little Grillo in there. Piercy, Hodges, Kirk, Wallace, Matty Wallace, Reeve, Bohogue, Knox, and Streelman. If you take against those comparable courses that I mentioned. Okay. So with all that said, I've got my favorite bets for you guys. Of course, this is always with a focus of higher odd guys. So this is not saying, oh, these are the guys for sure that I think are going to win. Like John Rahm, 5-1. Never going to happen. Not going to bet it. I'm playing John Rahm, I'll tell you right now. From a one and done, I'm just going to spend him. Why not? In this field, it's John Rahm and everybody else. So if Rahm goes out and plays a B game, he should win this hands down. But we'll see. All right. So my number one bet, of course, Cameron Champ. I've been on this guy. Of course, I hit him at the 3M Open, Twin Cities. So keep this in mind, guys. At that time, though, he was like 150-1. That's typically where we've been getting Cameron Champ, but because this field is so sad, he's 50-1. At least this is on PointsBet. But I'm still betting him because I've been betting him last couple tournaments. Not like the RBC, but I can't think of where the other one was before. But you need a little pop in your bat. So I like Cameron Champ 50-1. Mr. Scott Stallings, if you don't know, he's got a little pop in his bat, and Scott Stallings typically will put together 2, maybe 3 rounds. It's typically Sundays where he struggled, but I have seen him also make a move on Sunday. But it's just putting 4 rounds together for Scott Stallings. He also has length off the tee and been playing good golf. He's 70 to 1. I like him. Carlos Ortiz, this is purely because you can see he's even got the Vidanta hat on. So how can you not bet him? But of course, 61 in his home country. Him and Answer, right, are, the big Mexican kind of leader sponsors, and we're here for the course opening and all that stuff. So, he won the Houston, I don't know, a couple years ago, which is a bigger boy track. He's got length. He just has to have it all together. I mean, I watched his game look amazing one day and then just be disastrous the next. And then my Austin Smotherman, it wouldn't shock me that this guy gets a win this year. He's 100 to 1. And again, if you've not got to watch him golf, watch this guy. He is ridiculously good with the long clubs off the tee. And he, again, looks a little bit like Wilsey. And then last but not least, Peter Uihlein, 125 to 1. Look at that. So he won some little Corn Ferry event that gave him a trophy that looks like he'd get it from Mexico. But no joke aside, Peter Uihlein has got some major pop. I think he averages about 320 off the tee, and I think Champ averages like 313. Like, he's got some crazy pop on his bat and can go crazy low. Like, if you're looking for a guy to play even on Showdown, he's a guy. He can also stink, but he can also go real low, almost like a Tyler Duncan. All right, so that's with an eye towards getting high odds. It's the best we can in this field and what they're giving us. That's my 5 bets I got in. And then you guys always love my long shot. All right, here's the long shot. And it's coming in at 250 to 1. So that's nice. And the guy that I'm talking about, so right off the bat, one of the best comparable courses, I think, that I'm going with is the Honda PGA National. Really tough course. Also plays pretty long for the par. He had a second, almost won that thing. I'd say the next one, Sanderson Farms, is a pretty good comparable course. The course to Puerto Rico Open. The field makes sense. It's a coastal course. There's the Greg Norman design Valero, TPC San Antonio. He's got on there Sanderson Farms again. Wells Fargo. This is his best finishes. And of course, I am talking about Mr. Brandon Hagee. And this guy has got some serious pop on his bat. Again, averaging around 320, but I think he can get it out there to 350 if it's right. So that's where I'm going to be leading. Funny enough, on RBC, right? We were kind of Harbortown, which didn't work out so well, but I was at that time more just guys that were kind of strategic plotters. But because that course has changed, it allows for ball strikers. And this, for me, everything I can see, this is a bomber ball striker paradise. So that's where I'm leaning. All right, with that said, that wraps up my show for the preview. I will give you guys my DFS picks tomorrow. One and done, all that kind of fun stuff. Do me the honor, as always, click that like button, share it with anybody else. If you are watching me for some odd reason for the first time for the Mexico Open, if you like how I do what I do, click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber. Put out 3 shows a week on average, almost always, but sometimes if it's not the greatest, like the Zurich, you might get 2 shows. And then follow me on Twitter. Always tweeting out anything I see that you guys need to know. All right, guys, have a great evening, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.